Yeah, they gave me some pills and I took that. No, this was worse. This was worse. No, really worse.
Good morning. We're glad you're here with us. Would you stand and worship with us this morning? God sent His Son. They called Him Jesus. He came to love, heal and forgive. He bled and died to buy my pardon. An empty grave is there to prove my Savior lives. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. Because I know
seat and get ready for lengthy announcements. We've got a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. Number one, if you haven't taken one of the yard signs, take one. We do have those, so and they're free for you to take. I really want to see them all over town. But also, when you plant it in your yard, make sure you take a picture, and if you've got Facebook, post it on Facebook and do the hashtag. And I know most of you don't even know how that works, but just do hashtag PCC Transforming Community, and just trust me, it does something magical that you know nothing about, but I really would be great if you do it. Also, if you will, some of you have your tithe checks mailed here. It's automatically coming from your bank. And it's actually going to our P.O. box. Please change that to 93 Bob Tollett Loop. For years, we've had a problem with people not picking up on the P.O. box, like on our website. And then they mail checks here, and they get returned. And so the straw that broke the camel's back was we had somebody who does not attend here send us a rather sizable check, and not only did it not get delivered here, it didn't get returned to them. And so I just said, you know, it's time. There's no earthly reason why we should have a P.O. box, and it just makes it simpler. If people want to know the address, 93 Bob Tollett Loop. So just mail it here, start to use this address. We're going to abandon the P.O. box, and we have it until May, so it's not a big rush, but please, you know, let's just make that change. And there's a bunch of people who are not here today, which is kind of a segue into our prayer time. A lot of folks who either are sick or they have COVID or have been around COVID, so they're just being safe for a lot of those folks. For the prayer requests that we all have been keeping track of, riding hours are here, and we need a praise right now in the midst of everything we're praying for. They listed their house for a total of 1.5 days. They got 3 offers. They took the third offer, which was full price and no inspection. And so they'll be able to sell the house, and that gives them the funds that they need in order to take care of attorneys and all that good stuff. So what a praise. They need some good news in their life. And I want you to what's the latest on Chance? I forgot to ask that in Bible study. Don't know. So Chance, if you missed that email. By the way, one of the reasons I say that there's emails, I assume that the instructions were followed and an email went out, and I don't read the emails, so maybe that's a bad system. I don't know. So anyway, so Chance had a swelling of the leg and some red streaks, so they took him to the. And how old is Chance? 6?
Almost 7.
Yeah, and so be in prayer for that situation. Gina Leary texted me this morning. She told me earlier in the week that she thought she had COVID. She had symptoms. And then she told me, I think Friday or yesterday, she said she was 98.5% sure she has COVID. She texted me this morning and said, yes, the test came back positive. She's got COVID. So Gina's got it. Doris has it. Doris answered just a few minutes ago, and it's a bad day for her. So be in prayer for Doris. Rowena made it to Florida at her daughter's house yesterday. And she's, even though she's out of COVID, she's got the lasting effects of COVID. So she's having to tote around an oxygen bottle, and she's having troubles adjusting to that. And you're still weak. For those of you who know Matt Doherty, who used to attend here, Matt had COVID. He said he had it for about 10 days. He got so weak with COVID, he couldn't even go out to the mailbox and get his mail. And he lost like 12 pounds. And this guy, he's fairly, I consider him young. But then I'm old, so then I think a lot of people are young. You know, I think you're younger than my socks, for example. So, you know, it's, Matt said he lost like 12 pounds in the midst of it. Yeah, and he is slim anyway, and he's a young, healthy guy, active, so it's devastating. So Rowena's still struggling with that. We're staying in contact because I'm keeping them informed of what's going on with Cease. Pat is at home, and she's, she's better, but still waiting on an opportunity to visit the specialist, which actually the appointment is in February. They're trying to get that moved up with a cancellation or to go to Vanderbilt. So be in prayer for that situation. Literally, she's struggling with breathing all the time, and then some sugar issues, and yeah, it's a serious issue. And now that brings us to C's. I'm going to go to one update a day because literally in a 12-hour period, there's hardly any change. They give me the labs. They give me the stats. I can understand those. She is on a ventilator. She's intubated. When you go on a ventilator, they sedate you. She's got a feeding tube. This is serious. This is absolutely, positively the last ditch effort. And literally, it's, we stand back and you care for her with the hopes, the prayers, and I am just so thankful that so many of the people that surround her are believers. And I'll say, can you give her this message? Can you do this? And they're all with me. They're very much that it's 100% in God's hands right now. What changes is, last night it didn't happen. She was okay for the night, but her heart rate drops precipitously. And so they have to give her medication to keep the heart rate up. Our blood pressure changes a little bit. Those are the sort of changes, and they're just up and down, up and down. And literally, her body is fighting with every bit of strength that's in her body. And it's a good thing she's sedated, so she's, she can't worry about anything. But literally, it's with the hope that we might change the arc of this story. So that's what I want you to pray for. In my ideal world, she gets healed, which they would call a miracle. She goes home and she takes care of Bart, and the two of them go out peacefully together. But it's not an ideal world we live in. And God can do anything He wants to do. But I really need us to pray in a big way. And I don't want you to think this is just whatever. It's serious. RCs, whom we know and love and care for, is fighting a major battle right now. So now that I've bummed you out before the sermon, let's go ahead and you sit, and then I'm going to have you stand when Chase takes over, and let's just pray. Father, I just pray, first of all, that we understand just the power of your prayer. That when we pray, we don't have to be together to pray. That Father,